My brother's wedding was supposed to be a celebration, until his drunken toast revealed he murdered our childhood best friend 15 years ago. Standing at the microphone, tears streaming down his face, Marcus confessed to holding Jamie underwater until he stopped fighting. For 15 years, I'd blamed myself for not being there to save Jamie. For 15 years, I'd comforted my brother through nightmares, never knowing those nightmares were born from guilt, not grief. The person I trusted most in the world had let me carry the weight of a death he caused, and he built our entire adult relationship on that lie. Let me take you back to understand how we got here. Marcus and I had always been incredibly close. We're only 2 years apart, and growing up we did everything together. Our parents used to joke that we were like two halves of the same person. We shared friends, shared secrets, and shared one devastating tragedy that bonded us for life. Or so I thought. When we were 12 and 14, our best friend Jamie drowned during what was supposed to be the perfect summer camping trip. The three of us had been inseparable since elementary school. Jamie was this kid who could light up any room he walked into, always making us laugh, always coming up with the most incredible adventures. That summer, we'd convinced our parents to let us camp alone by Miller's Lake for the first time. We felt so grown up, so independent. I'll never forget that night. We'd spent the day swimming, fishing, and acting like the carefree kids we were. But after dinner, Jamie and Marcus got into some stupid argument about a girl they both liked at school. I was tired and went to bed early, leaving them by the campfire still bickering. I remember thinking they'd work it out like they always did. I woke up to Marcus shaking me violently in the middle of the night. He was soaking wet and hysterical, screaming that Jamie had fallen into the lake and wasn't coming back up. We searched frantically in the darkness, calling his name until our voices were hoarse. When the rescue teams arrived at dawn, they found Jamie's body floating near the shore. The official cause of death was accidental drowning. The investigators said he must have slipped on the wet rocks while walking alone by the water's edge. There were no signs of foul play. No reason to suspect anything other than a tragic accident. Marcus and I were devastated. We blamed ourselves for not being there, for not preventing it somehow. The guilt ate at us for years. That shared trauma became the foundation of our adult relationship. We leaned on each other through the grief, through the nightmares, through the survivor's guilt that followed us into adulthood. We made a pact never to let anything come between us the way that stupid argument had come between Marcus and Jamie. We promised to always be there for each other, no matter what. Marcus would wake up screaming Jamie's name well into his 20s. I'd drive over to his apartment at 3 a.m. just to sit with him until the panic attack subsided. He'd do the same for me when the anniversary of Jamie's death rolled around each year. We attended therapy together, visited Jamie's grave together every summer, and supported each other through every milestone that Jamie would never get to experience. When Marcus met Sarah, I was genuinely happy for him. She was patient with his nightmares, understanding about our annual memorial visits, and she never made him feel weird about how close he and I remained as adults. I thought she was perfect for him, and I was honored when he asked me to be his best man. The wedding day started beautifully. Marcus seemed more relaxed than he'd been in months, and Sarah looked radiant. During the ceremony, I watched my brother promise to love and honor this amazing woman, and I felt this overwhelming sense of pride and happiness. Finally, Marcus was moving forward. Finally, he was building something beautiful, despite the tragedy that had shaped so much of our lives. The reception was everything a wedding should be. Laughter, dancing, pure joy. I gave my best man speech about brotherhood and love, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Marcus hugged me afterward and whispered, "Thank you for always being there, little brother. I don't know what I'd do without you." That's when I should have stopped him from drinking more. But everyone was celebrating, and Marcus seemed happier than I'd seen him in years. I figured he deserved to cut loose for once. The trouble started when Marcus decided to give his own impromptu speech near the end of the reception. He was clearly intoxicated, swaying slightly as he grabbed the microphone, but Sarah just laughed and shook her head affectionately. The guests settled in for what they expected to be a sweet, slightly slurred thank you speech from the groom. Marcus started normally enough, thanking everyone for coming, talking about how much Sarah meant to him. But then his voice began to crack, and his eyes found mine across the room with this desperate, terrified expression I'd never seen before. "I need to tell you all something," he said, his voice getting louder and more unstable. "I need to apologize for something I did a long time ago." Sarah looked confused but concerned, reaching up to touch his arm gently. The room fell silent, sensing that something was very wrong. "There was this kid," Marcus continued, his words slurring together. "Jamie. He was our best friend, mine and my brother's, and everyone thinks he died in an accident." My stomach dropped. Several guests who knew our family history shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I started moving toward the front of the room, thinking I needed to get Marcus away from the microphone before he said something he'd regret. But then he looked directly at me with tears streaming down his face and said the words that confirmed what I now already knew. "I killed him. I held Jamie underwater until he stopped fighting, and then I convinced everyone it was an accident. I convinced my own brother that we both failed to save him." The room erupted. Sarah gasped and stepped away from Marcus like she'd been burned. Guests started murmuring and reaching for their phones. But all I could hear was the rushing in my ears as 15 years of shared grief, shared guilt, and shared trauma revealed itself fully to everyone else. Marcus kept talking, the words pouring out like he couldn't stop them. He described how their argument had escalated, how Jamie had threatened to tell everyone about something Marcus had stolen from a neighbor's garage, how Marcus had tackled him near the water's edge. He talked about holding Jamie's head under the surface, about watching the life leave his eyes, about dragging the body to a different part of the lake before coming back to wake me up. "I'm sorry," he sobbed into the microphone. "I'm so sorry. I let you blame yourself for 15 years when it was me. It was all me." Security eventually removed him from the venue. Sarah fled to her bridal suite in tears. The wedding reception that had been so full of love and celebration, just hours before ended with police sirens and devastated families. I sat alone in my hotel room that night, trying to process the public confession of what I'd just learned. Everything I thought I knew about my brother, about our relationship, about the defining tragedy of our lives, was built on a lie. Every time I'd comforted Marcus through a nightmare, he was being haunted by guilt, not grief. Every time he'd comforted me, he was manipulating me to maintain his cover story. The person I trusted most in the world, the person I'd built my entire adult identity around protecting and supporting, was a murderer who had been using my love and loyalty to hide his crime. For 15 years, I'd carried guilt that belonged to him. I'd shaped my entire life around being there for someone who had destroyed our childhood and stolen our best friend's future. Jamie would have been 27 now. He would have been at this wedding, probably making jokes and dancing with some girl he'd charmed. Instead, he's been dead for 15 years because my brother couldn't handle being confronted about petty theft. Marcus was arrested the next morning. He's currently awaiting trial for Jamie's murder. Sarah had their marriage annulled. Our parents are devastated, unable to reconcile the son they raised with the person who committed this crime. I haven't spoken to Marcus since that night. I don't know if I ever will. How do you forgive someone for letting you live with undeserved guilt for half your life? How do you move forward when the foundation of your closest relationship was built on murder and manipulation? The hardest part isn't even the betrayal. It's realizing that the person I thought I knew never existed at all. The Marcus I loved, the Marcus I protected, the Marcus I built my life around supporting, was just a character he created to hide the real Marcus underneath. The real Marcus is someone who could kill our best friend and then spend 15 years comforting me through the grief he caused. I'm learning to live with the fact that family can hide monsters, that the people closest to you can harbor secrets so dark they redefine everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and trust. Sometimes the person you do anything for is the same person who destroyed your world and let you believe it was your fault. Jamie deserved better than the family who failed to seek justice for him. And I deserve better than a brother who built our relationship on lies and blood. Please like and subscribe for more stories.